Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Hanifa Walida, and I am just feeling inspired as we move closer to Election Day. And I just want to say just a few words in regard and in support of Jimmy McMillan, who is of the Rent is Too Damn High party. Now, to some, he's considered, at the very least, political comic relief. And that's all fine and dandy. Sometimes we need some comic relief, or at least a distraction from what I think is the bigger joke of Cuomo and Palladino. But with Jimmy, I have to agree with him. And I think, at least in principle, a lot of us do agree with him. We may or may not vote for him in the end, but we do agree with him. I think his platform on its basics. And I agree with him as an artist because I am really coming to understand, I probably always understood, but it is becoming even more apparent now, like Jimmy says, that with the rent being too high, it affects everything from the cost of bread to the cost of, the clubs that you go into or the events that you go to. And as an artist, having to worry about the rent and it being too high affects us in a myriad of ways. It affects us because, not for nothing, it's just stress. It's stress to think about money all the time. We don't really, innately as artists, we don't really want to think about money or the burden of having to need so much money by the end or the beginning of the month. And that affects our art, whether we make it or not. It also affects us because then we're asking others whose rent is also too damn high to come to our show, and we have to charge whatever we charge because the rent is too damn high, and we're stressing on whether you're going to come or not, because we understand that for you also, the rent is too damn high. And then it is the case of supporting each other. We want to go to this friend's show or that friend's show or this artist over here who I feel is going to inspire me and give me the food that I need to maybe work on the piece that I'm working on at home or what have you. But I personally have to be selective of who shows I go to because my rent's just too damn high. Okay? It's like most of my money goes to my rent, and so I think a city that can afford as artists in turn can afford to live there, then those artists can give to the city. And New York has not been that city for quite some time. 70s, 80s, I would even say up to the mid 90s, it was it was an affordable city. You could live making a decent amount of money, and you weren't so preoccupied with just making the rent. Let's not even talk about the other bills, but just the rent. And I think from the mid 90s up, that New York has really ceased to be that. And for me, I think the first change that I saw, the significant change or effect on the artist community, actually was when I called what I call the modern day Niggerati Manor, the home of Pete and Jamila Banu, that used to be down there in Boerum Hill on 4th Street, I think it was. We used to all gather there, and it was the spot. Everyone who was on the come up or just being rolled through Niggerati Manor 1994 or 5, and really that apartment I think signified the avant-garde or the black avant-garde in New York City. And I also remember when Pete and Jamila had to move because the neighborhood was changing and the rent was driving them out. And that was a significant blow, I think, if some of you may remember, to the scene when Niggerati Manor wasn't no more. Like what happened to Pete and Jamila? And then they just broke out completely and went to Baltimore. But that's a whole nother story. But that is just an example of how when New York's rent started to skyrocket, how it affected the artist community. If we can't live comfortably, if we're always thinking about money, how can we in turn make not just art, but good art, stress-free art, open and free art? So I support Jimmy McMillan and that the rent is indeed too high for everyone, and in particular, New York's artists. We have to question, is this truly the city that it claims to be, or is it just living a myth? Are we living off a myth? Is it really giving us what we need? Is it that city anymore? So I love New York, but I don't know. questions are at hand. So I'm curious to what, you think about this, artists or not, and how you feel art has been affected in this city that is so famous for its artists, with the rent being indeed too motherfucking high. All right, peace.